On July 4th, a dramatic incident unfolded in China's Zhejiang Province. The Japanese destroyer JS Suzutsuki suddenly entered the 200-mile economic zone and headed straight for the 12-mile territorial waters. Isn't this causing trouble? The Chinese Navy quickly issued warnings to drive the destroyer away, but the Japanese ship ignored them and sailed at high speed in Chinese waters for 20 minutes before returning to Japan. It got as close as 7 miles from the coastline and just 60 kilometers from the headquarters of the Chinese Eastern Theater Navy. It really felt like an intrusion. Yet the Chinese Navy didn't respond effectively. The incident was revealed by the Japanese, and China acknowledged it, leading to heavy criticism from the Chinese public for their slow response. People are questioning if there's a problem with China's combat readiness. What's even more puzzling is that this news was first leaked by the Japanese. Is China falling behind in this rivalry, or is there some sort of hidden agenda? The media say that the JS Suzutsuki entered Chinese water to monitor China's missile launches from the coast. However, if that were the case, the destroyer should have stayed outside the territorial waters for several hours. Instead, it left after just 20 minutes. This suggests it wasn't there to monitor missile launches. The entire journey from Japan's Sasebo and back, covering 1,000 miles, took only 53 hours, indicating a swift mission. The fact that it entered the Chinese Navy's exercise zone, an area likely surrounded by Chinese warships, suggests it was on a mission. If the destroyer didn't have a mission, it could have been captured by the Chinese, along with its advanced technology. This would have been a massive loss for the Japanese, worth over $20 billion and threatening the Western military advantage. Therefore, this was likely a state-sanctioned operation. Entering Chinese waters involved significant risks, suggesting a hidden motive. The 20-minute high-speed run in Chinese waters could indicate it was either chasing or evading something, likely a submarine or underwater drone. Considering the types of Chinese Navy ships involved, such as the anti-submarine 054A and 056 frigates, it's plausible the mission was submarine-related. But without solid intelligence, this remains speculative. Interestingly, soon after this incident, Japan's Ministry of Defense disciplined several top maritime self-defense force officers, including the Chief of Staff, for leaking intelligence. This raises the possibility that the incident was connected to submarine movements. If China had indeed surrounded American or Japanese submarines, it would have led to a significant victory. The reshuffle within Japan's Ministry of Defense could be linked to this. The JS Suzutsuki's mission in Chinese waters might have been to create an escape route for submarines or to divert attention. These conclusions are based on limited information, and the full story is yet to unfold. Nevertheless, the destroyer's unusual actions and the Chinese Navy's response suggest the incident was more complex than it seemed. One thing is clear, the destroyer wasn't caught, showcasing the superiority of Western technology. The Chinese 154 and 156 frigates involved in this operation are powered by diesel engines, with a top speed of 27 knots, much slower than the 33 knots of the Japanese destroyer JS Suzutsuki. Even the Chinese aircraft carrier group's cruising speed of 30 knots can't keep up. Why can the 6,400-ton JS Suzutsuki run so fast? The key lies in its power source, the British Rolls-Royce M1C gas turbine, which outputs 47 megawatts. It excels in speed changes, acceleration, and sustained high-speed travel, even outperforming the Chinese 052D destroyer, which also uses gas turbines. It easily outpaces the Chinese frigates. The 054A frigates use diesel engines because China lacks suitable, powerful, and stable gas turbines, and also for economic reasons. In contrast, Japan and South Korea uses gas turbines on their surface vessels under 7,000 tons. Japanese ships like the Murasame class and Abukuma class frigates, and South Korean ships like the Incheon class and Daegu class frigates use gas turbines from Rolls-Royce, General Electric, or Kawasaki. The U.S. Perry class have also been using gas turbines for decades. Only Chinese frigates still use diesel engines, which are significantly inferior. The Eastern Theater Navy would need to use the 052D destroyers, which also have gas turbines, to intercept the JS Suzutsuki. Of course, diesel engines aren't entirely useless. They're fuel-efficient, durable, and easy to maintain, making them suitable for slow-speed cruising. However, modern naval warfare requires high-speed maneuvering and quick responses, which demand a power system that can quickly provide high power, something diesel engines can't do, especially for frigates, which need to keep up with aircraft carrier groups. China's carrier groups cruise at 30 knots, but the 054A frigates can only manage 27 knots. A few years ago, the Chinese carrier group was outmaneuvered by American Arleigh Burke-class destroyers because the frigates were too slow, ending up further from the carrier than the destroyers. Japan and South Korea have acquired many technologies for small gas turbines from Rolls-Royce. They assimilate these technologies, make local improvements, and even collaborate with Rolls-Royce to develop new models. This allows them to gain new technologies and improve their technical skills, rapidly advancing their capabilities. Their small gas turbines have highly efficient cooling systems, using both air and liquid cooling. They also use high-temperature alloys and ceramics, which reduce the need for extensive cooling systems, allowing them to be fitted into smaller vessels. The combustion chambers are designed for optimum airflow, ensuring complete combustion. The fuel injection systems are precise, creating finely atomized fuel mist that burns cleanly and efficiently. This compact design makes installation easier. So, while China has built many ships, their quality still needs improvement. They need to continue working hard to compete with Western powers. The JS Suzutsuki's incursion into Chinese territorial waters has caused an uproar on Chinese social media. People are furious, wanting to give the Eastern Theater Command a piece of their mind. How could this happen? An intruder sneaked into their territory without being noticed, and there was no reaction at all. This humiliation will take many exercises and tough talk to recover from. The public's outcry is getting louder and louder. This incident also revealed significant gaps in the Chinese Navy's ability to handle emergencies. They failed to respond appropriately. On the eve of the 83rd anniversary of the Marco Polo Bridge incident, a Japanese warship entered the territorial waters on the coast of Zhejiang, China's most economically developed region, publicly embarrassing the Chinese Navy. Even commentators from Taiwan's pro-China CTI TV found this unacceptable, calling the Chinese military's response gentle. China could have dispatched a 052D destroyer to intercept the JS Suzutsuki. If they had controlled the destroyer under the cover of shore-based firepower and air defense, a rescue operation by the US and Japan would have been very difficult. This was a significant defeat for the Chinese military, not only underestimating the opponent's intentions, but also showing a lack of resolve in defending their territory. Look at how other countries respond to air and sea invasions. In 2015, Turkey shot down a Russian plane that dared to cross its border. Pakistan shot down Soviet planes during the Afghan War. In 1996, Turkey was lured into Greek airspace and lost an F-16 to a sneak attack. In 2012, Chinese fishing boats entered Russian waters and were met with gunfire. In 1983, a South Korean airliner strayed off course and was shot down by Soviet pilots. This time, the Japanese destroyer entered the core area of the Eastern Theater, which includes the East China Sea Fleet headquarters and the Beilun Naval Base, a significant site during World War II's Battle of Shanghai. For a Japanese warship to intrude 20 minutes into such a sensitive area, getting as close as 7 miles from the mainland, is not just a slap in the face, it's a blatant provocation. The slow response from the Eastern Theater Command and Navy departments is concerning. Major failures occurred in early warning detection, ship deployment, and information release. Some netizens sarcastically wondered if the personnel on duty were distracted by social media or dozing off. Why didn't the shore-based missiles, early warning radars, or fighter jets respond? Such negligence is unacceptable. Whether due to technical reasons, human error, or lack of comprehensive response plan, this incident has left the Eastern Theater Command with a heavy burden of criticism. Speculations aside, the exact details are known only to those involved. However, it's clear that the security environment around China will become increasingly complex, and the risk of military friction will rise. Since the Russia-Ukraine war, the issue of Soviet-era weapons underperforming in real combat has become apparent, raising questions about the effectiveness of Chinese military equipment, which largely derives from Russian technology. In 2022, during Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, Chinese and American fighter jets tested each other, and China's complete defeat led them to cut the live broadcast. Unable to win with a single punch, China faced provocations. In April 2024, Taiwan conducted live fire drills near Xiamen, forcing China to conduct military exercises off the Guangdong coast to appease domestic sentiments. In June, the Philippines acted provocatively in the South China Sea, successfully grounding a ship. On July 4th, the Japanese warship tested China's territorial waters successfully, prompting a defensive reaction from the Chinese Navy. On July 8th, Japan and the Philippines signed a bilateral treaty allowing military deployment on each other's territory. On July 9th, as China's Shandong carrier group operated in the Western Pacific, Japan not only scrambled fighter jets, but also sent a destroyer pointed directly at China's Type 055 destroyer. Clearly, the West is putting pressure on China. On July 12th, the Chinese Politburo Standing Committee member Zhao Leiji attended the BRICS Parliamentary Forum in St. Petersburg, proposing laws to oppose economic decoupling and disintegration within BRICS. This indicates China's concern about potential defections within BRICS, as seen with Argentina's shift towards the West. While Zhao was busy at the BRICS Forum, a directive in Suzhou mandated all government units to prepare for tough times, signaling preparations for potential conflict. This suggests that while the Chinese government is preparing for war, they are cautious not to alarm the public, reflecting their grim view of the situation and their preparations for possible future conflicts. Military developments are heating up. On July 13th, the Taiwanese Ministry of National Defense revealed evidence of the Chinese rocket force testing missiles in Inner Mongolia, 2,000 kilometers away from Taiwan. This indicates that Taiwan has significantly improved its military intelligence capabilities and likely cleaned up internal leaks. Such a public disclosure wouldn't have been possible otherwise. China's frequent rocket force exercises are mainly aimed at the U.S., with numerous mock U.S. military bases, fighter jets, and surface vessels constructed in the desert for military guidance system training using artificial intelligence. The incident involving the Japanese warship intruding into Chinese waters once again highlights the Chinese military's weakness and incompetence. The so-called strategic patience is merely an excuse for inaction. Faced with foreign territorial incursions, China appears powerless, which is not how a responsible major power should behave. While China maintains a facade of stability, it is preparing for war internally, deceiving its citizens and aligning with corrupt regimes like Russia. Despite claiming to defend sovereignty, it can't even protect its territorial waters, raising questions about the military's purpose. Ultimately, the Chinese leadership is more concerned about their power and personal interests than the nation's dignity and welfare. Under the Chinese Communist Party's authoritarian rule, China lacks the ability to defend its sovereignty. Military modernization is decades behind the West. Corruption plagues defense industries, and the officer corps is riddled with corruption. Should conflict rise, China might not only fail to protect the nation, but also jeopardize the regime's security, risking a collapse similar to the Soviet Union. China's future depends on its people's ability to embrace democratic and liberal values, break free from the CCP's tyranny, and establish a government that truly represents the interests of its 1.4 billion citizens. Only through democratic governance, free speech, judicial independence, and human rights can China mobilize its people's potential and vitality, securing a rightful place in the world. Otherwise, under the CCP's deceit, the nation faces disastrous consequences.